Today I want to talk about The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. And anyway, let me back up a bit. So, several years ago I read the Sandman series, and I enjoyed it. I definitely don't think it is like the definitive be-all graphic novel, blah, blah, blah. I enjoyed it, though. And when I heard that Netflix was adapting it, I thought, that'll be interesting. I hadn't heard much about it until I saw it pop up on my Netflix announcements that it was released. Mostly that was probably because I wasn't actively seeking out anything about it. I thought, maybe I'll watch it when it comes out. So it came out last month, and I watched the first, I want to say 6-7 episodes. I think I'm on episode 7, and I haven't finished the series yet. But anyway, I did finish the graphic novel several years ago, but I reread it recently because I wanted to find out just how different from the graphic novel the adaptation on screen was, because there were some definite differences that I noticed, and I thought, well, I don't want to remember these wrong, so let's go back and read this and see what the differences may have been. Now, first off, The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. It starts out with a man named Roderick Burgess. He's in England, and he connives his way into the confidences of someone with the National Museum who has a grimoire that he wants. And the grimoire has the details of a summoning ritual, and this man's child had died, and Roderick Burgess proceeded to play on this man's weakness and convince him that with the knowledge in this book he could reverse that, bring his son back, that kind of thing. So he double crosses the man, of course, and he proceeds to go through with this summoning ritual. The problem is that he was trying to summon death, and he didn't get death. He got something, or something is the best way to put it. He got something else. In the world of the Sandman, there are 8 beings called the Endless, and death is only one of those beings. And he didn't get death. He got, like I said, someone else. He actually ended up summoning Dream, also known as Morpheus. There are several other names that he goes by. And Dream was summoned into this circle, and he was then imprisoned because he wouldn't talk to them. He wouldn't do anything. He just decided to wait patiently until he could find a means to escape. And in being summoned to this particular, by this particular ritual, he has 3 items stolen from him. One is a bag of sand, another is a ruby, and the third is his helmet. You can see a picture there of him basically lying in the summoning circle, although I don't know why they used red. Because Morpheus never wears red. He always wears black. But his helmet is that gas mask, xenomorph thing on his head. Anyway, those 3 items are stolen from him, and he's imprisoned by Roderick Burgess. Roderick Burgess ends up dying, and the 3 items were stolen from Roderick Burgess by his second-in-command and his mistress. Now, his second-in-command and his mistress, they run off together with the 3 items. The second-in-command, he eventually loses those because the mistress runs off with them. And the mistress trades them, sells them, etc., until she trades the helm to a demon for an amulet that will protect her against anything. If I remember correctly, she sells the sand for money, and the ruby she gives to her son. Now, the story behind the Sandman is actually really good. The immortal entity is summoned to our plane of existence and imprisoned, and when he finally escapes, he must then recover those artifacts that were stolen from him and reclaim his rightful position, in this case as the Lord of Dreams and Lord of the Dreaming. Like I said, it's really good. However, I was not a fan of the artwork. The artwork looked really sloppy, really second rate as far as that goes. This right here is actually much better. This cover art is much, much, much better than the actual artwork inside of the book. I got to say that the artwork does not do the story justice. As I said, I enjoyed it. I really liked the story. There were a couple things that were really odd about it. However, a couple things that you definitely need to know about the Sandman before you go watching the Netflix series is that Sandman, if you look up at the top of the image that I'm showing here on the screen, you'll notice that it says DC Vertigo. Sandman happens in the DC universe. And in fact, there's a supervillain in the first part of the Sandman story here called Dr. Destiny. Dr. Destiny is the one that has Dream's ruby. He was the one he was the son of Roderick Burgess's mistress, and he was the one that the ruby was given to, and he became a supervillain, and the Justice League were the ones that had to defeat him and get they took the ruby from him. In the graphic novel, he escapes from Arkham. Yes, that Arkham, the one that holds the Joker and Two-Face, all of Batman's rogues gallery. At one point, Dr. Destiny was one of those and was in Arkham Asylum. The other thing is that, again, this takes place in the DC universe, and one of the people that Dream has to deal with in order to get his items, his relics back, is John Constantine. The same John that was played by John Wick. I just blanked on his name. Keanu Reeves. Anyway, John is a chain-smoking British paranormal investigator / exorcist. Movie was, as always, Keanu Reeves was excellent. The rest of the movie was I want you to understand that this is set in the DC universe. The reason I want you to understand that this is set in the DC universe is because some of those characters come into play in the Sandman graphic novels, especially in this first one. When Dream finally escapes from his prison and goes on to try to reclaim his relics, again, he runs into those characters because they are tangentially connected, because this is all in the same shared universe. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Netflix series. For the most part, the episodes that I've seen follow along very, very closely with the story that was told in the graphic novels. There's not a huge amount of deviation, at least from the main plot. However, there are some changes that they've made to the series that, in my mind, don't really make sense, because they have an established mythology, if you will. They have established characters. They're part of the DC universe. We know them, and they're ignored for reasons. So, the picture that you see on here is, the promotional poster for the series, and you have right there in the center Morpheus, and they did a really good job, I thought, in casting Morpheus. He looks very much like they have rendered him in the comics. Gaunt, tall, dark hair, pale, fairly goth, if you will, or emo, depending on how you want to look at it. Wears black all the time, Raven on his shoulder. Raven's name is Matthew. Anyway, then you see some of the other characters that are in the show, and I can't tell you who all the characters are because I haven't seen the entire series, but I do know who some of these characters are. This down here is Joanna, not John, Joanna Constantine. Again, John Constantine is the John Constantine from the Hellraiser? I want to say Hellraiser series. I will look that up. Let's see. He first appeared in Swamp Thing, and then he went on to have his own comics series, Hellblazer. That's what it was. Anyway, as I said, he is a occult detective from Liverpool, stationed in London. You can find out his backstory going and reading those issues and stuff. Now, I want to say Jenna Fisher. No. Let's see. What is her name? Jenna Coleman. Jenna Coleman is an excellent actress, but I don't know why they did the gender swap here. This over here is Death. Now, if you're familiar with the Sandman comics, that's not what she looks like. Very much goth, pale. She looks a lot like Morpheus. Pale skin, black hair, little goth girl. This right here at the top, that's Satan, Lucifer, Lord of Hell, Son of the Morning, all that other stuff. This right here is Lucian. She, in this case, I say he because it's he in the graphic novel, is Dream's major domo. I'm not sure who these others are. I believe this is Rose Walker. This is Gilbert. They come in later. This is another one of the Endless. I want to say Delirium. No, not Desire. Not Delirium. Desire. This is the Corinthian. Anyway, like I said, gender. I don't have a problem with gender or race swapping. I just kind of want to know the reason behind it. You know what I mean? Lucifer, for instance, in all of Christian mythology, is depicted as male, even called Son of the Morning. And apparently there was an actor who was actually playing this version of Lucifer from the DC universe on a different show, and instead of getting him to play this particular character, they decided to go with this lady here, Lucian, white guy in the comic, black lady in the Netflix series. Again, with death, pale little white girl. For some reason, a black woman. Sorry about that. Again, I have no problem with it. I just want to know kind of why. It makes the changes don't make sense when given the material. I mean, if it's just for representation's sake, or, I mean, like I said, Jenna Coleman is an excellent actress. I saw her in Doctor Who. Very much enjoyed her as one of the one of the Doctor's companions. But if you want to put her in, why not make her Death? She's got the dark hair. Just make her pale. There you go. You've got the little goth girl that plays Death. If that was your, if you're sitting there thinking, well, we need to have this representation, go ahead and have it. But there are characters that we know that are established characters. Why not use them? Martian Manhunter is in the graphic novel. So is Scott Free. Both of these are Justice League characters. Green Lantern, Batman, they pop up for a couple of pages. But I guess what really gets down to is, if you're gonna do it, where do you stop? I mean, why not swap everything and everyone? I assume that if they swapped Dream, it would have been such a huge backlash. They're like, no, Dream has to be this pale white guy. But if you're going to swap everybody else, does he really have to be a pale white guy? Can't he be someone else? If you're not going to stick with the artists and the author's original vision, why don't you change everything? Make it whatever you want it to be. But if you're going to take bits and pieces and choose what you want, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, this isn't the Sandman. This is something else that has stolen ideas from the Sandman. Just do your own thing. Make it how you. But if you're going to be using an established work, why deviate from it? I mean, I understand certain deviations, like, for instance, Dr. Destiny. It's kind of in the Sandman series. It is definite that Dr. Destiny is Roderick Burgess's son. In the graphic novel, that's a bit more ambiguous. Yes, he is the son of Roderick Burgess's mistress, but he could just as easily be the son of the second in command that she ran away with, as opposed to Roderick Burgess. It's kind of implied that he is, but he might be, he might not be in the graphic novel. So the other thing is that the second in command is completely cut from the Sandman series, and that makes sense. It's the same thing happened. The regalia that Roderick Burgess stole from Dream was stolen from him, and his mistress then used it to protect herself, etc. So that result was the same. She ended up with it in the comic, and we just kind of skipped some information that really did contribute to the plot. Now, you can argue that any of these swaps didn't really contribute to the plot, and they don't. But again, if we're talking about cutting things like the side bit where it was actually Roderick Burgess's second in command and his mistress that absconded with the regalia that he stole, yeah, we just kind of shortcut that. But we're doing these gender flops and race flops. Once again, what's the point behind it? Why are we doing it? And if we're just doing it to do it, do your own thing. Figure your own story out. Don't be stealing. Like I said, it feels like instead of being the Sandman, this is Sandman adjacent, and they just kind of stole bits and pieces that they liked and changed the things that they didn't. This seems to be going around a lot. Amazon Rings of Power right there. Anyway, the story was pretty well followed. But again, those changes didn't really make any sense. If you want, read The Sandman. It's pretty good. Artwork, nah, not so great. I would give the artwork a C, low C, C minus. Story, A minus, B plus A minus, somewhere around there. And if you have questions or comments, or you disagree with my assessment, please let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that other stuff. And until next time.